Work hard, get good grades, go to college, get a degree, get a job, get a pension. We're hearing it less and less. Why? Because it's been a broken promise. Money can be complicated. Let a nerd help you. We're here to demystify the complex nature of money by getting you answers from financial nerds and whiz kids. Welcome to Ask the Money Nerds, a weekly segment of the Wealth Labs podcast where we answer your most pressing money questions. Yep, we've heard it all before. Work hard, get good grades, go to college, get a degree, get a job, get a pension. We're hearing it less and less. Why? Because it's been a broken promise. Yet it's still kind of ingrained in a lot of people that, that's all going to work out. We've seen big promises with degrees with a lot less result than what was promised. So what are the alternatives? What's going on? That's what we're going to tackle today on Ask the Money Nerds. All right, Stolba.
Okay.
Give me the question.
Ben wrote in.
Ben.
Ben's been watching your YouTube videos.
Thank you, Ben. Glad you're watching the YouTube videos. Keep it up.
Cheers to that. Okay, so here's what he has to say. I've watched a few of your videos and love what you're saying. My question to you is, how do I think more like you more naturally? I was raised in an average mentality of kids my age, 26. Where you go to college and you get a degree and you kind of just follow that A-B pattern,
Yeah.
Cultural expectations, where you get a job, you have good retirement, all of those things. The older I get, the more opportunities I realize that I've missed out on because of my mentality is wrong. I just want to get on a level where I can make legit money in my lifetime and be able to pass that ability on to my two sons.
Sweet.
I'm a full-time fireman, and I also work part-time at another fire department, which comes out about 90 hours a week.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That is a lot.
He's dedicated. I'm ready to have my worries on other things besides money and be able to be a more present father. I commend him for working towards that. I asked this on a YouTube comment, and so he reached out on Ask the Money Nerds so we can make a video for it.
Yeah, I need to get caught up on my YouTube comments, Stolba. I actually am the one that answers all of them.
You are.
Nobody else.
It's not me. It's not anybody on the team. It's just been, the real Garrett Gunderson.
Budgeting Sucks just came out, and we're working on a lot of exciting things. But yeah, I've even said need to add some days off.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk about this, because I didn't have some natural mindset that I was born with. This has been a work in progress. So let's break it down. I was fortunate enough in high school to go to something called Governor's Honors Academy. And in that, there was a guy named Ren Zafiropoulos that spoke. Now, Ren, he actually invented the Xerox machine. And so just to hear him speak and understand his mindset opened up my mind. And then there was Steve and Cindy Gilbert. They have, in Southern Utah, they owned a ranch, and they were very wealthy. They were giving money to the university. And so Cindy actually was on the panel for when I was 15 for the Young Entrepreneur Search, right, which I took third place at that time. And so I then met her at Governor's Honors Academy. We had a meal with these 50 students and myself at their house. And so they just started talking about, hey, if you find someone that you could learn from, add value to their life. I don't know exactly how they said it, but they're like, don't just try to take from them, right? Be willing to do an internship, even if it's not paid. So I was like, okay, who can I learn from?
Yeah. And
so who inspires you? Who could you learn from? Who could you add value to? That's a question I would have, because who we spend our time with and the conversations we have start to shape our mindset. The second thing is a morning ritual. I had a radio show for 5 years, 2 hours a day, 5 days a week through the majority of that. And when I would interview people on that show, and even for our monthly audio series back then, what I found is so many people had a morning ritual. So I call it a producer power hour. Producer means we're producing more in the world than we consume. A power hour is starting the day with an hour to yourself. Now, I don't care if it's 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. You just start somewhere. So we came up here pretty early this morning, but I got up, I listened to a healing joy meditation while I made celery juice and lemon water for the cleanse that my family's on. And I made the heavy metal detox, smoothie. Well, I listened to that. Then I went down. I did New Calm, which is a very meditative parasympathetic state type of thing. Then I wrote in my 5-minute journal. And I just love to talk about what I'm grateful for in there, what would make it a great day, who I am, and then 5 things from the day before that were really great, unique experiences. So I wrote in that, and then I did my workout. Normally I have Aaron with me. He's out of town. So I did just 10 rounds of these 30 movements, and I got a good sweat on. And then I went and played basketball with my son. And then I listened to a certain soundtrack on the way up here, and then had a call with someone. So I had my morning mostly to myself, minus a little basketball with my son and a call with our chief copywriter at Wealth Factory, which was very exciting on this typology thing that we're building for Win Then Play. So if you start your day properly with exercise, education, and enlightenment. Exercise could be anything from stretching to an actual workout,
a walk around the block.
A walk around the block, just anything, right?
Yeah.
And
it doesn't have to be CrossFit.
The education could be, for me, I wasn't really listening to audio programs this morning because I'm more of in a self-discovery phase, right? So it's more like uncovering things. And that's why I listened to the Healing Joy meditation, because it was putting me in the right state. Then I did my actual meditation with New Calm, which I also do like a check-in of like, what am I grateful for just in my physical being, that I have fingers and toes, just like putting myself in a really loving state. So, and then the enlightenment side could be whether that's meditation, prayer, gratitude. But if you start your day that way, you put kind of a shield of abundance, right? That pings scarcity off of you because you've had time to think and you've had time to create versus the noisiness of the world.
Yeah, and to center yourself, like, and through those processes, you get to know who you are.
Right.
And when you're in tune with yourself, you can show up for other people differently, more patiently, more lovingly.
Right. That's the notion again of sacrifice. Like when we do everything for everyone else but ourselves, we limit who we are. And I've just seen it where, when we first had children, I think my wife was compensating because I wasn't there as much as I should be. So she's just trying to spend every waking moment with the kids to the point where she was exhausted and tired, and it's not as quality, even though there's plenty of quantity. So we finally got to a point where I had an epiphany and became a little bit better human being. I keep making those steps, and we got a little bit of support. And that gave her a day to go and do things without having our kids hiding in the clothes racks and running out in the parking lot and all that, with some of the shopping, and having like where she could do some things for herself, whether it was whatever it might be, go out with a friend and have a coffee or do some crafts or whatever. Like it was really about taking care of yourself that makes a difference. And this is a big part of the mindset. Now, when you find yourself trapped in scarcity, which nobody's immune from scarcity unless they're enlightened, and I'm not floating around by any means.
You're not?
I haven't told you, like, I've had this 3 weeks of just like a lot of bliss. And this morning I woke up with just a little lull, but I just acknowledged it. Texted my wife. I'm like, there's 3 things going on here. And she goes, none of your concern. It's going to be fine. But it's like, I just had to acknowledge it versus pretend it wasn't there. And when I find myself in scarcity, there's a few things that I could do. Number one, I can look and say, am I being selfish here? Is it my agenda? Is it all about me? If it is, how do I create more value? So I might call someone and add value to their life, right? And just ask them questions about what they're up to and what they're excited about and what they could use, and be a catalyst for someone for a moment. The second thing is, call a mentor, call a peer, call someone I truly respect, and let them know how I feel. This morning, that was my wife, right? And texting her, and her response was fantastic because it really, everything's fine. So it's either serving someone else or it's calling someone else and acknowledging that you're in the situation where that mindset isn't great. So that means you have to have great people that are in good mindsets to spend time with, because someone in scarcity might just say, it's not your fault. The world's to blame. You're a victim. Can you believe? And they just kind of drag you down.
So contagious.
Yeah, totally. So that's another piece. So who you spend your time with, we've heard over and over again, but just having someone that you're regularly meeting with, that you're in regular conversation, that's around like what you want to create, right? Having those mechanisms when you find yourself in scarcity, which sometimes it's hard to detect, but if you find yourself in a negative state on a recurring basis, if you're seeing footprints of failure where life isn't how you want it to be and you're feeling a victim of that circumstance, those are the footprints of scarcity. And the way to get out is serve someone else in that moment so that you don't feel sorry for yourself, or tell someone about your situation so they can ask you questions and be a support for you. Not go and tell the person that hugs you and tells you it's not your fault. That's fine to talk to them for a minute, but talk to someone that wants to help you get past that. That wants to help you go through it. And when I say get past it, I want to be clear. We got to go through the pain. We can't avoid it or hide from it. And sometimes there's a lot of self-judgment and critical, like, I can't believe, like, look, I speak, I have a YouTube channel, and I still have scarcity that creeps in my life, right? It's just part of being human being. You do?
Yeah.
How much of that do I create? That's a question.
I'm going to move on to the next question. No, I'm kidding. Not much at all. Yeah, I think you bring up some really valid points. And when you talk about like engaging in relationship and having the conversation, ideally those would be in real life. But there are times, I think back in my life, where there weren't as many people around me that I really were helping me get to where I wanted to go. So I actually tapped into the online community. Like I found people female business owners who were going places and I felt inspiring, who were thinking creatively and abundantly. And I would watch their videos. I would take their course so I just feel like we have access to really
so much easier now.
Yeah, so much easier. So if there's not someone in your immediate community yet, I believe you'll find them. There's all these other ways that we can connect with people to help keep us on the railroad of being inspired and moving in that direction that we want to move. And then I think the other important thing is the kind of questions that we ask ourselves and ask other people.
That's a great point.
Yeah, I think, we can ask questions that keep us stuck, or we can change our language in a way that expands our mind, expands how we're showing up.
Yeah.
And
think of what the conversation we had with our coaches at Wealth Factory yesterday. I said, look, gossip is where we try to get someone else to see our viewpoint against another person, but we never talk to the person we're against. So we create a labeling that's damaging to them, right? Complaining is being frustrated and venting, which I don't find anything wrong with complaining when it's venting and processing and going through the emotion. And it's good to complain sometimes when you're in that high emotion with someone that's not the individual, so that you don't have the emotion run that conversation. But what I believe in is committed complaints. Like, okay, I'm complaining to you, I'm venting, but now it's my turn, once that venting's gone, to go have a conversation with the person at hand, right? That it's actually, so that's part of how we process, because I think emotions are very valid. And if we try to ignore them or to pretend we're never in scarcity, like there's a stench to that, because we know, like, nobody's perfect. Perfectionism is a plague. And when we try to be perfect, then we become robotic or stressed, or then we're not who we really are in a self-expressed way. And then it can create that mindset or that paradigm of harsh judgment. Like I see with my kids, I was creating some perfectionism, and when I'm, harsh on them, we were up at here at the cabin, and when we came home after a day, it was 100 degrees down where we live, and they left the door open in the back. No, nothing got stolen from the house, but I'm like, pump the air conditioning for a while. And I just went back into my miser mindset. I'm like, I'm lecturing. I'm super intense about it. And then I'm like, why didn't I do it this way? Hey guys, I've made these mistakes when I was a kid as well. But let's just, let's be more mindful of it and talk to them. So I'm acknowledging it without like hammering them, so they never want to do anything wrong because they don't want to disappoint dad. Right. And I think that we have some of that creates scarcity in our mindset from our childhood that we never resolve, that starts to create those patterns of behavior. So like, don't beat yourself up when you're in scarcity. Call the right people, ask better questions, be willing to acknowledge when you're there so that you're not suffering it for too long or for unnecessary amounts of time. Process the emotions, have conversations with the right people, and and that's the formula.
Yeah. The moral of the story here is we're all evolving. It's an evolution. Like, we don't just come into the world with this great mindset that helps us be really successful, but it's a journey of acknowledging where we're at and growing along the way. So I think
90 hours of work. It's intense.
Yeah.
He's got the work ethic.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's about, and just acknowledging the mindset thing is so profound, because I can tell that you're ready to grow, that you're on a great growth path, and continue with that self-discovery and have some morning ritual somewhere. Doesn't matter the amount of time, just consistency and progress over perfection. Find the right people that you can entrust and that you could talk to. Think of great questions that catalyze amazing conversations, and be there for people. And also make sure you know who will be there for you, because that's going to make all the difference. All right, AskSomeOfYourNerds.com. Go ahead and ask your questions. We'll bring the answers, or the nerd that will have one if it's not me.